One of my go-to dinner recipes is keto meatballs. It's one of those recipes where I always have the ingredients on hand and it comes together really quickly, so perfect for those busy nights. And I have 3 hungry boys that I have to feed every night, so this is one recipe that they love, so it's guaranteed to be a hit whenever I make it. Today, I'm not going to show you just one meatball recipe, but I'm going to show you 5 keto meatball recipes that you can make for dinner. I'm going to show you how to make my basic keto meatballs, a taco meatball, a pizza meatball, a buffalo chicken meatball, and a sesame ginger meatball. All of these can be made in the oven, stovetop, or the air fryer, plus they're freezer friendly. So if you like to meal prep, you can make up a bunch, pop them in the freezer, and have them later on in the week. So you want to see how to make these 5 recipes? Well, let's get started. One of the things I really like about meatballs is that they're portion controlled. So they're all roughly the same size, about the size of a golf ball or a little bit smaller than a golf ball, maybe a ping pong ball. But you always know how many macros that you're getting. So if you're one that likes to track and likes to track net carbs, you can always know how many net carbs that you're getting per meatball. And I have all of those listed down below in the description box, all the macros per meatball, as well as on my website, ketofocus.com. Now, before we get into the recipes, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you guys get notified every time I post up a new video. All right, the first meatball we're gonna make today is my basic keto meatball. Now, the meat that we're gonna be using for this meatball is we're gonna be using 1 pound of ground pork and 1 pound of ground beef. But you can mix it up if you want, if you just wanna use all ground beef. I've done that before, it still tastes delicious, or all ground pork, or any of these recipes, actually, I should just say this, any of these recipes you can mix up your protein. So if you wanna do ground pork, ground beef, ground chicken, ground turkey, whichever one you wanna do, they're all gonna be excellent in any of these recipes. In a medium-sized bowl, I'm gonna add my ground pork and ground beef. We'll also need 2 cups of ground pork rinds. Now, the ground pork rinds that I like to use are these ones. It's by Bacon Air, and I'll have them listed down below on where you can purchase them. They call it pork panko, and I love these because it's finely milled down. But if you don't have access to this or just want to go a less expensive route, you can purchase just a bag of pork rinds and then grind them down yourself using a food processor, or just put it in a plastic bag and take like a rolling pin to it and hammer it down until it's a finely ground consistency. We're also going to add heavy whipping cream, a 1/3 cup of finely chopped onions, 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, a 1/4 cup of chopped parsley, 2 cloves of minced garlic, and I actually like to use garlic paste. It's one of my cooking shortcuts rather than having to mince up some garlic. So I use about a teaspoon of this per clove. So it would be 2 teaspoons of garlic paste in this recipe. Then add 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of pepper. You want to mix these together either using some clean hands or gloved hands, or just use a wooden spoon. To form our meatballs, we're gonna form them into a round ball that's about the size of a ping pong ball or a golf ball. Now, you can cook these however you want. They work beautifully on the stovetop if you want to put them in a skillet with a little bit of oil and fry them up that way. Just cook them on each side for a few minutes and gently rotate them around until they're evenly browned and cooked through all the way. Or you can cook these in the oven. I recommend using a 425-degree oven for about anywhere from like 8 to 12 minutes until it's cooked all the way through. I like to cook my meatballs in an air fryer just because I feel like when that fat drips down, it really just starts to circulate and it gets all of your meatball nice and juicy and crispy. So if you're cooking this in an air fryer, you want to cook it at around 400 degrees for around like 6 to 8 minutes. So that's my basic keto meatball recipe. I like to serve these either with a cauliflower rice dish, or you could put them in with some shirataki noodles and have some spaghetti and meatballs. My youngest really loves that. He loves spaghetti and meatballs. That's his favorite meal. Up next, we're gonna be making a taco meatball. So this is perfect if you're craving some Mexican food, but you're tired of the traditional keto Mexican food fare. This is your recipe. To a medium bowl, we're gonna add 2 pounds of ground beef, 2 cups of ground pork rinds, 1/3 cup of sour cream, 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese, 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning, and I have a recipe on my website for keto taco seasoning. It's very easy to make and something that you can make up in bulk so that you always have a keto approved taco seasoning ready to go. You'll also need 2 minced garlic cloves, 1/3 cup of finely chopped onions, 1/4 cup of chopped cilantro, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of pepper. Again, mix these together until they're combined, form them into your meatball shape, and bake them as instructed below. Now these meatballs are delicious on their own, but if you want to go one extra step, let's make a sauce for them. To make a dipping sauce, we're going to add 1/4 cup of sour cream, 1/2 cup of keto approved salsa. Make sure you check the back of the label and make sure it's the lowest carb count possible, and 2 teaspoons of hot sauce. Mix that together and you can pour these over your meatballs or just dip them in. This makes the perfect appetizer too if you have a potluck or a gathering you're attending. The next meatball is my kids' favorite meatball because it's a pizza meatball. And so this is all of the ingredients of a supreme pizza going into a meatball. To a medium bowl, we're gonna add 1 pound of ground beef and 1 pound of ground pork, 2 cups of ground pork rinds, 1/2 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese, 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, 1/3 cup of finely chopped onions, 1/4 cup of chopped mushrooms, 1/4 cup of chopped green bell pepper, 1/4 cup of black olives that's diced up. And all of these ingredients, you want to just finely chop them as much as you can. You don't really want to have big chunks in your meatballs. That's also a good way to sneak in some vegetables for your kids. You'll also need 1/2 cup of red sauce. And the red sauce I'm going to be using is the one by Rao's, but you can use any sort of keto approved red sauce that you want. I'll have some options listed in my website. And you can't have a pizza meatball without pepperoni, so we're gonna add 1/4 cup of mini pepperonis. If you don't have access to the mini pepperonis, then just slice up some regular sized pepperonis and throw them in there. For seasoning, you'll need 1 tablespoon of basil. Mix that together and form our meatball shapes. Up next, we're going to be making buffalo chicken meatballs. So this one, of course, is going to be using ground chicken as our meat. So in a bowl, we're going to add 1 pound of ground chicken, 3/4 cups of ground pork rinds, 1 egg, 1/4 cup of finely chopped onion, 2 tablespoons of finely chopped parsley, 2 tablespoons of coconut flour, 1 finely diced up celery stalk, 2 tablespoons of ranch dressing, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Mix all these ingredients together and shape them into your meatballs. You can cook these as instructed below, either in the stovetop, oven, or the air fryer. But to get that buffalo flavor, we're going to be using buffalo sauce. So we need to heat up some buffalo sauce in a small saucepan over medium-high heat, get that nice and warmed up. And our finishing step would be to pour over the buffalo sauce on our meatballs. The last meatball I have is a keto Asian inspired meatball. We're gonna be using ground pork for this one. So in a medium bowl, add 1 pound of ground pork, 1 cup of ground pork rinds, 1 egg, 1/3 cup of finely minced green onion, 3 tablespoons of freshly grated ginger, 2 cloves of minced garlic, 2 teaspoons of toasted sesame oil, 2 teaspoons of liquid aminos, or you can use soy sauce, but remember soy sauce does have carbs in it, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Again, mix these together and form them into meatball shapes and cook them according to the instructions below. And I want to make a sauce to go with these sesame ginger meatballs. So in a saucepan, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of avocado oil, 1/3 cup of liquid aminos, 1 teaspoon of creamy peanut butter, or you can use almond butter or whatever nut butter you want to use, 1 tablespoon of brown swerve or golden monk fruit, 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, 1 teaspoon of crushed red pepper, 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Mix these together, heat it over medium-high heat until it comes to a boil, and then we're going to simmer it until the liquid reduces. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and remember to hit that notification bell down below so that you always know when I have a new recipe or new video posted.